have tuned in to Turn the Pages, and I am your host, Jordan Rivers. So, as you all know, this is our college edition, season 2. And so I wanted to bring back a very special guest and a great help and teacher, Mr. Tom Lewis from Oink Group. So I just want to go into this show's topic. It's all about how to save money while you're in college. So hopefully all of the information that you have received thus far has helped you, with your college applications, with your FAFSA, with your scholarships. And so now that you are into the college that you want to be, or maybe not, the college you want to be at. So, because we did have an episode covering how to still succeed going into a different college that you might have overlooked. So, after all this is said and done, we definitely want to continue our college edition. And I want to do a recap, Mr. Lewis, on last week. We talked about so much, and it was definitely, education for me. So as always, I have my pen and my paper to take my notes. So I hope that you all are taking your notes too. So last week we discussed the tuition rewards program that you have. And so what we didn't have time to go over, because I know this is like really huge, is the trunk parties. The Oink Group hosts trunk parties. So tell me about these trunk parties.
Well, Jordan, the trunk parties is actually an additional segment that pretty much we offer pretty much to the folks who are inside the company that have scholarships.
Okay.
Okay. And so basically how it works is that a trunk party is pretty much when we bring the entire family together, okay?
Okay.
For the cause of pretty much raising money for a student. So for each family member over the age of 18 that actually attends the trunk party, okay, the student earns a $500 scholarship.
That is nice.
For each relative that actually attends the trunk party.
Okay.
Yes.
And you know what? There may be some people out there who are not familiar with trunk parties, but just in case there are, let's just explain what those trunk parties, are. So basically, when you are on your way to college, the family, schools, they kind of get together and they get you this huge trunk. Over the years, I have noticed that the trunks have been getting kind of smaller. That's one thing I've noticed, but they're huge. And so, people come together and they, give you the linen that you need for your bedding, soap, toothpaste, all those little things that really add up into cost. So, the trunk parties are very important. They could be gift cards from different stores just to help you, survive throughout your first year. Anything that you need. Blow dryers, whatever is on your registry. And a lot of times when you have a trunk party and, you go register at a huge store.
Target.
So,
whoever.
right, whatever store, is your favorite. And I really love it because you take the little register gun and you just, go on everything that you, click on everything that you really want or need. And there you have it. So you can even register a laptop for your trunk party. So, whether it's your laptop, whether it's a printer, ink, pens, paper, whatever you think that you really need in college, get it, and then everyone can come bring gifts to place in your trunk. So, and say nice things about you too. So I just had one of my son's friends, he's going away to college and he had a trunk party, and I really liked all of the advice that everyone gave along with the gifts, because it's so much, out here, and we want to prepare our youth as much as possible. So that is your trunk party. So now that you know, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So if I decide that I want to go to school and I'm over 18, could I get a trunk party?
Actually, our trunk parties are hosted prior to the students starting their senior year of high school.
Okay, I tried.
Why? Because we want to help the child or the student prepare for college in advance.
Okay.
And basically during the trunk parties, the students or the actual family can earn as much as $10,000 in that one evening
Wow.
for a 2-hour trunk party.
Nice.
And that's a big deal.
That's a real big deal.
There is nowhere else that a person can go and in 2 hours raise $10,000 for college.
That is wonderful. So trunk parties it is. You know, too bad I'm just finding out about this now. You know, I could have used you guys like, you know, a long time ago. So this episode, if you have just tuned in, let's take a little break. So if you have any questions, any concerns, if you want to see any past episodes, I urge you to go look at our website and click on the season 2. So if you want to know what the website is, it is www.turn-the-pages.org. And if you want to email me, you have questions that you know you haven't had the answers to, go right here and make sure you email me. And I'll make sure that I get back to you and maybe even have your questions on the show. So back at it. Yeah. So we're going into how to save money while you are still in college or in college in general. So I feel like these tips, they're not just for college students, they're for everyone because there's some things on here that I do as well. So let's talk about tip 1. So I went to FastWeb. FastWeb, we've talked about this website before that has a lot of information on college scholarship. So this is definitely a site that you want to have in your Rolodex, contacts, whatever. Go to fastweb.com. And so they have 31 money-saving tricks for students. And so I definitely need a professional, you know, input on the money saving tricks that we have. So number 1, buy or rent used textbooks and sell last semester's books back. So everybody knows, you know, when you go to school, you have to buy books. Actually, I didn't know that when I first started college. So I went into a bit of shock because when we got our book list and they said, oh, you have to go, you know, get your books. And I said, okay. And so I would go, you know, I went down to the library. Not the library, but the bookshop at Columbia College. And, you know, they have all these books and you have the SKU numbers and you know, to be able to tell which aisle you need to go to. When I went and I said, oh, this book is $100? I have to pay for this? So I left the bookstore and I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I have to pay for books. She said, well, yeah, it's college. I had no idea. So I had a bit of a shock. And so luckily the family was able to, you know, rescue me. Shout out to my big sister. You know, she had been in college before, so she knew. But I had no idea. I thought that the books are included in your tuition. Yeah. Silly me. So buying those used textbooks are very, I want to say more affordable too. That's the word I'm looking for. Affordable.
It's better. Definitely more affordable, and I think at a lot of colleges these days too that that pretty much a lot of their learning curriculum is in is pretty much online as well. So
yeah,
they might not have anything to trade in sometimes.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Online. So if you can find those books online, or you know what, look at your local libraries. In the city of Chicago, we have 80. So look at that library. If it's a book that you're not going to need, you know, for maybe the whole semester, or even if it is the whole semester, see if the library carries it. And if you have an online account with the library, you can actually continue to take it out if nobody else places that book on hold. So that's definitely a way to cut costs. So even if you have moved out of state, you know, go to your local library, whichever is close to that university, get that library card and make sure that you get a book some way, somehow, if you can't afford to, you know, purchase books for that semester. Any tips you have on books?
Basically, I think my tips on books would be mainly to shop online resellers.
Okay.
You know, that's pretty much going to take the student in, give them a ton of options. Right. Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so online and libraries. So that's the way to go.
Or students that that's in your school, pretty much who just finished the course.
Absolutely, especially
Yeah.
when they have the buyback book sales at the schools, and the students, book maybe like $5-10 or maybe half of what they actually paid for it. That's great. It's used, and you're gonna need it, and you're actually able to look through the books and see
Absolutely.
if they're in good condition or not.
Absolutely.
So I think that is great. So number 2, don't make impulse purchases. So you're out on your own for the very first time, and you go by the store and you see this $100 dress that you just know looks right on you. Don't make that purchase. Just don't do it. Run away, because you may need that $100, and it's really hard. And I don't speak for all women in general, but when we see something we like, it's a good book bag. So and sometimes they're over $50 to $100. So
Yeah.
you have to look the other way. So if you have a keep what you have and continue to move on, because you don't want to waste money. That's $100 that can actually go to food. If you never go grocery shopping when you're hungry. Again, another college tip that can be used in adulthood, after college. So have you ever went to the grocery store hungry?
Do it all the time. And and the problem with college students is that they're always hungry. So
Yes, that is true. And ramen noodles are not that healthy.
Absolutely.
They're not.
yeah. I think the biggest issue is budgeting for college students, and pretty much I think that pretty much we can narrow down pretty much what is their source of income.
Right.
Is it student loans? Is it a personal allowance from your family? Do you have a full-time or part-time job? Right? Because all of those things will determine pretty much person's budget.
Absolutely.
They have to spend.
Absolutely.
So budgeting plays a huge part in money management. And again, pretty much where the source of money is coming from. Okay.
Got a budget.
Yeah, the budget.
Yes, even as adults, you have to budget. So it's great if you have never, had to budget anything, that you start in college and you continue on. And if you can do, have a budget and learn how to do it before college, that's even greater for you.
Or even, or also as well, the student has to be very conscious of using student loan dollars.
Yes.
Okay?
And those refund checks.
Those
a lot of
refund
those
checks.
refund checks are student loan dollars.
Because the number one thing the student has to remember is that that money has to be repaid.
It does.
Okay? And it has to be repaid. And the balance is always accumulating interest. So pretty much the students are always dealing with the issue, whereas the loan balances are always being affected by compounding interest. Okay? Which could lead a college student, Jordan, in a situation whereas when he or she graduates, okay? With most student loans, from my experience, is that with most college students, it takes at least 20 years for them to pay back a student loan. We've seen clients lately who's on a 40-year plan to pay back student loans. Now, folks, let me add this piece here, okay? There's a thing called the Rule of 72. The Rule of 72 was invented by Albert Einstein, okay? And pretty much how it works is that you take the number 72 and you take the interest rate, okay, that you're being offered. You divide into the number 72, and that will tell you how many years it will take for that money to double.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so for example, okay, if you have a student that has a 7% interest rate, okay, 7% interest rate, and then pretty much you take 7%, you divide it into 72, right? So that's approximately, goes into 72, what, about 10 times?
Yep. That's what I get.
Okay, so every 10 years, the balance you owe is going to double.
Wow.
Okay? So that's why it's important that when you're receiving money from your student loans, that you pay close attention to your spending, because the cars, the fancy apartments, the clothes, the dining, the entertainment,
Yes.
okay, you're enjoying while you're in college with your college dollars, okay, in the future, you could be paying for that 2 to 3 times. Okay?
That's a lot.
That's a big deal.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. You saw I was taking notes, right?
Yeah, I saw
I
it.
done dividing and everything. I remember now. So, wow. That's a lot of money. So, remember, wow. Be careful about spending those loan dollars. You really don't want to get stuck paying loans for 20 and 40 years. And so remember, episodes, maybe 2, and I can't remember the other episodes, we talk about scholarship. So please go back to the website, season 2, and go on those scholarship, videos, because you don't want to get stuck paying loans. And there are a lot of people that I know are still paying loans, and it's like an arm and a leg.
Well, also, Jordan, is this, okay? Is that what most students have to understand right now is that the cost of college is almost as much as buying a home.
Yes, it is.
Okay? So basically, once you finish college, okay, 15% of your income is going back toward your student loan repayment. Okay? So when you go to your admissions office, and you borrow money from them, all right? There's a couple questions that you should always be asking these guys, because keep in mind, colleges are in business to make money. I don't care if they're a public college, a private college, or however you want to call it. Okay? All right? They're in business to make money. All right? And a few questions that a student should ask before they sign off on any loan is, number 1, is how much money, okay, is this loan going to cost me? Number 1, how much money is this loan going to cost me? All right? A student should treat a student loan the same way you would treat a salesperson if you were buying a car.
Absolutely.
Okay? Exactly the same way. Okay? Second question is how long will it take me to pay this loan back? Second question. Just like buying a car. Okay?
Yep.
How long are my payments going to be on this car, right? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years? Okay? And number 3 is, what are my payments going to be? Okay? And last question is, what's my repayment terms?
You need to know that.
Oh,
You
yes.
know what? And you have to pay your loans
Absolutely.
back. So it's not like borrowing $50 from your cousin Pookie and then
Absolutely.
you change your number because you don't want to give him back the $50. No. What's going to happen if you do not set up some type of arrangement with the student loans is that they will start to garnish your wages. So one day, imagine you're at work and you're, happy because your check is, it's about $2,000, before taxes. And then all of a sudden you see that you only have $700-800 left. It's because Uncle Sam, student loans. So they took it. And guess what? There is absolutely nothing you can do about it. Well, actually, there is, but you're still going to have to pay it back. You can work out something with them, and
Right.
maybe they'll say, okay, well, we're going to garnish your wages for 6 months to a year until it's current, whatever. And then you still have to pay a certain amount that you can agree upon. So do not think that you're going to borrow this money and get away with it, because I've seen some people who have gotten their checks and they were upset. I mean, ruined their life. So, and remember, on top of the 15% that you will have to pay back, that doesn't account for what you're going to pay to take care of yourself. If you have husband, wife,
Absolutely.
children, and children are 100% income expense. So it's 100% plus 15%. So you really have to think about your plans and your finances, and are you really serious about college? Because don't go to school if you are not serious about it. If you feel like
Absolutely.
you need to mature or go see the world, and your heart is just not in school, that is okay. But when you are ready, make sure that you're ready for what comes after you have graduated, and that is definitely making sure that you are prepared financially to pay back your loans, or whatever. So because you may not get that dream job that you want right at graduation. A lot of people, it doesn't happen until they're in their 30s. So make sure that you have definitely prepared, and some people do. So I don't want to take hope away from anyone, but I do want you all to think realistically about the situation.
Well, Jordan, the fact is this, okay? That college institutions are running a business. Okay? All right? They're running a business, and students are making an investment. Let me say it again. Students are making an investment.
Absolutely.
Okay? So you got to keep this in mind, okay? You have to ask yourself this question. If I'm going to go to XYZ company or college, and it's going to cost me for all 4 years $150,000, let's just say, okay? You have to ask yourself is, okay, if I'm going to give them $150,000, what type of rate of return am I expecting back on this $150,000? Okay? All right, that's very, very important, because I promise you this, that whatever school you're attending, okay, they're building some housing right now somewhere. They are building a building somewhere right now. Okay, a new business is in the works on the campus. Okay, they have a whole team of people, an entire staff that is focused on business development. You should be thinking exactly the same way. $150,000 investment might end up being the largest investment you ever make in your life, possibly.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Totally agree. So take that degree serious and do what it is you set out to do. I know so many people who went to school and are not even doing what they went to school for. So
Absolutely.
take it seriously. So the next one, it kind of relates to what we talked about, never go grocery shopping when you're hungry, because you end up buying things that you don't need or something that just looks good. Limit the number of times you eat out monthly. So you can go out, and I guess an average evening, maybe about $40, because then you're going to want to eat. You're going to want to eat something really good that's on this big plate, and that's really smaller than the plate, and then it has all this sauce on it. You know how they make it look really good to charge you $20 for just one meal. And then, of course, you have to have a drink, because especially if you're in college, you're going to drink. 21 and over, I hope. So you have that, and you're spending, $40 for... you can go grocery shopping and have a week's worth of food for $40, depending on how you do it now. So you have to know how to grocery shop. So if you are roommates with anyone and you all have a kitchen, it's better to have a meal plan. What type of things are you going to eat on a regular basis for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? And then come together, write that list down, and everybody put a little money in a pot, and everybody goes grocery shopping on one person, and then that's how you have that savings in there for.
Because the fact is that it's cheaper to actually make larger meals for groups than it is to actually plan for meals on an individual basis.
It is.
And on top of that, it's a lot more fun.
It
Think about
is.
it. All your friends getting together and everything else, and you're sitting there
and
you're cooking and everything else, right? Playing the music, and it's cheaper and it's much more fun.
Absolutely. So, you know, make sure if you're going away to school, look at the grocery stores, you know, that are in the area. If they have meat markets come in handy. You can get lots of meat for 20 and 30. If you eat meat.
Right.
Okay, and the vegetables, you know, look them up. You know, vegetables are good now. And that's another thing that we'll talk about later this season is eating healthy while you're in school, because that eating healthy, it affects your brain chemicals. And so you want to be able to make sure that you are receiving everything mentally that you need to receive so that you can actually pass in school. So that's another thing. So then it has on here, cut out vices, the smoking and the binge drinking. So it's very expensive to actually do those things. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is like part one of our, you know, how to save money during college episode. So thank you so much, Mr. Lewis, for coming in.
Yeah.
I know that
we didn't quite get through the list there,
we didn't get halfway through this list. So I have to ask him to come back, because it's only right to make sure that we prepare you for college in every aspect that we can. So thank you so much for tuning in to Turn the Pages. I am your host, Jordan Rivers, and this is my very great guest, Tom Lewis, and we hope to see you next week. Take care.
Right.